if you think about it, you've got pronouncements, the president of Turkey says stuff about Bitcoin. People are asking the premier of Russia whether they'll accept Bitcoin. People want to know from central bankers what they think about Bitcoin. When's the last time somebody asked a government their opinion of Apple stock, or whether you should invest in the Vanguard 500 index, or whether you should invest in gold or silver or any other stock or options trading, or whether you should put your money in a money market? Nobody cares about any of those things. The only thing they care about is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is sucking the oxygen out of the room. And good news is good news, and bad news is good news. And as long as you keep talking about it, it's a good thing. So now you have the entire government, in essence, saying it's just so good, we're a little bit afraid of it. And then you have people like the Ray Dalio saying, yeah, well, what's your problem with it? Well, it's just so perfect that I'm sure that somebody will want to stop it or ban it because it's too perfect. Yeah. I mean, really, that's the problem, that it's just too good that people are afraid of it. I think it's good advertising.
Do you tell your marketing team at MicroStrategy that no press is bad press?
No press. I've tweeted it.
Okay.
I think P.T. Barnum said it once. He said all publicity is good publicity. But certainly I think for Bitcoin, I really do believe that the more people talk about it, the better it is. You can't buy this kind of publicity, right? Name one other's investable asset that is getting this news cycle right now. It's dominating the mainstream media. It's dominating television. It's dominating everybody's concerns. Is there a politician in the world that isn't aware of it?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing. Like when I was young, I used to hate the short sellers. Oh, they're shorting my stock. But the truth is, someone that shorts your stock has to buy it back in the future. So if someone talks about Bitcoin and they say they like it, then that's good. But if they talk about Bitcoin and they have an issue, then there's only two things you can do, right? You can either buy it or you cannot buy it. And so if 100 billion times people mention it and half the time they agree with the person that said whatever they said, okay, well, then they didn't buy it. But that's the status quo. The other half of the time, the status quo is changing. So I think that this is really just elevating the brand.
So I have a whole bunch of things I want to talk about. So let's get through it one at a time. The first question I got to ask you, all right, right at the top of your Twitter feed, which has 1.5 million followers now, I'm going to guess it was a lot less 18 months ago. Bitcoin is a swarm of cyber hornets serving the goddess of wisdom, feeding on the fire of truth, exponentially growing ever smarter, faster, and stronger behind a wall of encrypted energy. So now for those of us who don't have degrees from MIT, can you explain what that means?
Sure. Well, so one thing I realize about Bitcoin is it's a totally decentralized network, and people and companies and entities are joining it. So I got the metaphor for the swarm of cyber hornets when I listened to the whine of Bitcoin miners. When you hear them, they scream. If you've ever been in a Bitcoin mining facility, it makes you think about a swarm of hornets. But the truth of the matter is, some people thought, oh, it's the Bitcoin miners. Well, yeah, there's hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of Bitcoin miners. I mean, there's 1 million, 2 million Bitcoin mining rigs out there, right? So there's a million plus hornets in the Bitcoin mining world, and they're all converting, electrical energy into digital energy. And so that's part of it. But the other part of it is all the cyber hornets on Twitter. They thought it meant them, right? It's like all the people on Twitter talking about Bitcoin. And it sort of did, but it didn't exclusively mean them. It also means that this morning when I got up, I turned on the television and someone in China is saying something, and already 20,000 people had said something else about it. And then Anthony Scaramucci is on TV and he's talking about it on CNBC. And I thought Scaramucci's a hornet, right? And then I heard Andrew Sorkin saying, so Bitcoin is visibly decentralized, but I'm not sure about the other coins. And Scaramucci saying, well, that's what a Bitcoin maximalist would say. And I'm thinking, Andrew's promoting Bitcoin, Scaramucci's promoting Bitcoin. Yesterday, Jack Mallers was on CNBC talking about Bitcoin. Every journalist, every influencer, how many CEOs of Bitcoin are there? You're promoting Bitcoin, I'm promoting Bitcoin. Jack Dorsey's talking about Bitcoin. Thousands and thousands of CEOs. So every company on earth, every government on earth, every Bitcoin miner, every Bitcoin exchange, it's a swarm creature. And it's only growing stronger because people keep joining the network, and every single one of them that joins the network makes the network stronger.
So let's talk for a second about somebody who's, and thanks for the explanation. Let's talk for a second about somebody who's not promoting Bitcoin. I don't know if you heard on Peter Schiff's, Peter McCormick's What Bitcoin Did. He had Peter Schiff on a couple of weeks ago, and he was debating somebody, and I forget the gentleman's name. He actually was very smart. Peter Schiff didn't really budge.
Greg Foss, maybe?
Yeah, that was it. Greg Foss. Did you hear the interview?
Okay, so first of all, I think that Peter Schiff is one of the Bitcoiners. He's supporting Bitcoin too. All he does is talk about Bitcoin.
Well, okay.
Foss is another one. They're all talking about Bitcoin, right? Even when you're saying something negative about Bitcoin, you're supporting Bitcoin. Steve Hanke is supporting Bitcoin. They're all marketing Bitcoin when they don't market Bitcoin, when they think they're hating it, they're loving it. And when they're
but let's make it useful for those the boomers listening who want to respond to the gold bugs, which I don't think they did a great job of in the podcast, right? He's just hasn't moved his needle, right? He may be supporting it because he talks about it, but under the PR discussion we just had, but how do you respond to the gold bug who really is entrenched and says this is going to zero?
I mean, every paradigm shift, you've got people in the old guard that they just will never accept the new thing. Albert Einstein, who is, of course, one of the geniuses of our world, never accepted quantum uncertainty. God does not play dice with the universe. Sometimes people cannot be persuaded of these things. There are people that could not be persuaded. When the airplane was invented, there are a lot of people that had never flown in an airplane, and they were unwilling to fly in an airplane for the rest of their life. Some people didn't want to give up their horses. Some people don't, my father doesn't use a computer routinely. I think the first iPhone my father used was like the iPhone 11 or the iPhone 12. He skipped the first 10 generations. So people just sometimes don't embrace new technology.
Yeah.
When you and I if we're still in this business 30 years from now, someone's probably going to come up with a new technology that we have a hard time getting our hands around. Bitcoin with fair value accounting would be actually superior as an asset on a balance sheet to owning Apple stock or owning any kind of stock, because the stock is still a security. Mm-hmm. And the security still trips that 40% limit.
Right.
Whereas if you own property, it would put it at parity more with like treasury bonds. Mm-hmm. I could have 100% of my balance sheet in treasury bonds, sure, right? I couldn't have 100% of my balance sheet in security.
Right. Or you just become a broker dealer or an RIA or something like that in addition to a public company, right?
Which doesn't work for an operating company. They couldn't do that.
Right. Okay. Got it. Is there a scenario that you can imagine, even with a 0.1% chance of happening, where you would actually start selling Bitcoin in the next year or 2 years?
No, look, Bitcoin is the most stable, highest value property in the world right now, right? So trading Bitcoin for something else is trading from the apex property, the best property, to an inferior property. So I can imagine scenarios where I borrowed against billions of dollars of Bitcoin to buy some other property that I wanted. There are other good properties, right? Mm-hmm. There are other things, right? I won't dispute that owning the stock of a great company is not a good thing. I would just say that there's no better thing than owning pure digital energy on the dominant crypto asset network. So I wouldn't sell it, because that implies you're trading something for something better while there is nothing better. So I wouldn't do that.